Hello and welcome. Prime Minister Modi has taken on KCR on his home turf. Speaking at the BJP's national executive, Prime Minister said that like other states, people in Telangana are also paving the way for the BJP's double-engine government. The BJP will form governments in Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, West Bengal and Odisha soon, the party said in a resolution passed during its national executive meeting in Hyderabad, setting its sights on some of the few states it has found most difficult to penetrate.
मुझे खुशी है कि तेलंगाना के लोगों का भी भाजपा पर ये विश्वास लगातार बढ़ रहा है। तेलंगाना के लोग लगातार भाजपा की डबल इंजन सरकार के लिए जनता जनार्दन खुद ही रास्ता बना रही है।
So while the Prime Minister kept his focus on development, preferring to sound like a statesman instead of a politician, it was in sharp contrast to the sarcastic attacks of speakers before him, Amit Shah, Piyush Goyal and other BJP leaders on KCR and his family. Masudi reports from the parade grounds in Secunderabad on just how the countdown seems to have begun for Telangana 2023.
जो तांत्रिकों की बात मानकर जनता के कल्याण के लिए सचिवालय नहीं जाता है, उसको मुख्यमंत्री बनने का अधिकार है क्या? जोर से बोलिए, है क्या? अरे केसीआर सुन लो, अब मत जाना सचिवालय। अगली बार सचिवालय जाने का टाइम भारतीय जनता पार्टी के मुख्यमंत्री का है।
Target South. New expansion for the Bharatiya Janata Party will happen in the south, in Telangana and Tamil Nadu, among other states, says the roadmap drawn up as part of the party's national executive political resolution after a two-day meet in Hyderabad.
बंगाल, केरला, तेलंगाना, आंध्र प्रदेश, तमिलनाडु, उड़ीसा ने भी भाजपा की सरकार बनेगा.
On Telangana, there was a statement that targeted the ruling TRS party on alleged corruption and family rule and said the BJP would bring double-engine sarkar to the state.
ये कब तक सिलसिला चलेगा? कब तक फार्म हाउस से तेलंगाना की सरकार चलेगी? कब तक तेलंगाना के लोग भ्रष्टाचार को सहन करते रहेंगे?
Union Minister from Telangana, Kishan Reddy, accused the TRS of trying to steal the BJP's thunder, of trying to sabotage BJP's massive show.
आप घर में बैठ के पैसा खर्च करके हमारा होर्डिंग्स निकालते हो, हमारा फ्लैग्स निकालते हो, हमारा बंटिंग्स निकालते हो, कोई पूरा सरकार के जितने भी होर्डिंग्स है बुक कर लेते हो, एक भी होर्डिंग विपक्ष को नहीं मिलना चाहिए, ऐसा करते हो। कभी देश में किधर भी नहीं हुआ ऐसा। पूरा पेपर एड्स फ्रंट पेज बुक करके एडवर्टाइजमेंट देते हो। इतना गिरावट राजनीति नहीं होना चाहिए।
The Telangana Chief Minister had dared the BJP to dislodge the TRS government in Telangana, threatening that the TRS would instead work to displace the BJP from the centre. The political resolution at BJP's national executive spoke about fighting to end casteism, dynastic politics and also politics of appeasement, without any specific mention of either Nupur Sharma or of the Udaipur killings. But what is very obvious is that the BJP is going to go very, very aggressive in the run-up to elections in Telangana 2023. And the TRS certainly feeling the heat. In Hyderabad, with camera person Nagaraju, Uma Sudhir, NDTV.
And Prime Minister Modi also created a bit of a flutter when he referred to Telangana's capital as Bhagyanagar during his address to BJP delegates from across the country. And NDTV's Akhilesh asked the BJP's Piyush Goyal about this.
अगर बीजेपी की सरकार बनती है तेलंगाना में तो क्या हैदराबाद का नाम बदलकर भाग्यनगर किया जाए?
जो योजनाएं करनी है वो तो चुनाव के बाद एक बार सरकार बन जाए तो हमारे मुख्यमंत्री और पूरा कैबिनेट तय करेगा.
And 2 days after a bench of the Supreme Court passed strong remarks against the former BJP spokesperson Nupur Sharma, saying that she needed to apologize to all of India because her statements had set the country on fire, Justice J.B. Pardiwala, who was part of the bench, has said that personal attacks on judges for their judgments lead to a dangerous scenario. Both Justice Pardiwala and Justice Suryakant were targeted on social media by users after their oral comments against Nupur Sharma during the hearing of her plea. Sukiti Devedi reports.
the rule of law. Social and digital media is nowadays primarily resorted to expressing personalized opinions more against the judges per se, rather than a constructive critical appraisal of their judgments. This is what is harming the judicial institution and lowering its dignity.
Many accuse them of prejudicing the case so that, even if she tries and approach other courts in the country, they would have heard by then of the kind of observations that were made by these two judges. However, the sheer fact that Justice Pardiwala spoke at length today, not just about how these comments are wrong, but even sought the parliament of the country to then regulate the social media. So in a way, trying to seek a solution, trying to put a stop on this entire menace. That is what is significant. So already on one hand, we had those headlines being made because of the comments by these judges during that hearing, and to now add on top of that, clearly Justice Pardiwala seems to have had some cognizance of the kind of debates that ensued on social media post that hearing. And even though he did not mention any particular case, he did not name any individuals in his address today at that event, the fact that he spoke about all of these things and how they are harmful to the rule of law, how they will make it dangerous for judges to even give their judgments because they will think of the media perception rather than the laws that are involved in that particular case. So comments very, very significant at this point of time coming from Justice Pardiwala, who was part of that very crucial bench. Sarah.
All right, thanks so much for that, Sukirti. Now, a day before a vote in the Maharashtra Assembly to prove its majority, Chief Minister Eknath Shinde's camp scored a big win on Sunday, getting their choice of Speaker elected. The election for the Maharashtra Speaker's post is being considered a semi-final of sorts ahead of the big vote on Monday, when the Eknath Shinde government will need to prove its majority.
The Maharashtra Assembly has a new Speaker. Rahul Narvekar, a lawyer by profession, had started with the Shiv Sena before moving to the NCP and finally the BJP. Both Chief Minister Eknath Shinde and Devendra Fadnavis, his deputy, used the opportunity to target the Shiv Sena led by Uddhav Thackeray after Narvekar's victory.
आणि आपल्याला मी सांगू इच्छितो की अनेक प्रयत्न झाले, परंतु ज्यांनी मला सांगितलं, मला घरी काही लोक म्हणाले की आमच्या संपर्कात 10 आहेत, 15 आहेत, 20 आहेत, 25 आहेत. मी त्यांना सांगितलं नाव सांगा, मी त्यांना स्पेशल विमान करून पाठवून देईन.
The MLA from South Mumbai's Kolaba, who is the youngest speaker in the country, was led up to the speaker's chair by members of all parties, as is the tradition. Narvekar got 164 votes, including BJP MLAs and Rebel Shiv Sena MLAs, while Rajan Salvi from the Shiv Sena got only 107. Aditya Thackeray, who attended the assembly session, spoke on the floor of the House after the election and said, as a young leader, he hoped that the young speaker would address issues young citizens raise. Outside, he claimed that the real Shiv Sena is still with the Thackerays and questioned who spent the money for the charter planes and hotels of the rebel MLAs and how long will they keep avoiding voters.
मैंने पहले भी कहा था कि फ्लोर टेस्ट हो या स्पीकर की इलेक्शन हो, वहाँ तो हमने हमारा विरोध दर्शाया है कि व्हिप उन्होंने माना नहीं है, लेकिन उसके आगे भी जाके मैंने कल भी कहा था, पहले भी कहा है और आज भी कहा था, पहले तो मोरालिटी टेस्ट थी.
Earlier, the Congress party wanted to hold the elections, but the governor had said that was not possible as the matter was sub judice due to the change in rules. But soon after the government changed, the governor changed his stance too and allowed the elections. The Congress has accused the governor of partisan behavior.
आम्हाला तर आनंद आहे आणि आश्चर्य वाटतंय की राज्यपालांनी ज्या तत्परतेने गेल्या आठवड्याभरात जे निर्णय घेतले, तशी तत्परता जर अगोदरच्या काळातल्या विनंतीनुसार जर घेतली असती, कारण की आमची मागणी होतीच की मतदान जे आहे अध्यक्षपदाचं ते खुल्या पद्धतीने व्हावं, तशी कायद्यात सुद्धा बदल करण्यात आले होते, पण दुर्दैवाने ते त्यावेळेस मान्य केले नाहीत. त्याची मान्यता आता मिळाली.
The Congress and the NCP say they are confident the government's numbers will fall, even as the Supreme Court is yet to decide on the disqualification of rebel MLAs. And during the speaker elections, both rebel MLAs and Uddhav loyalists accused each other of disobeying whips, setting up the stage for a prolonged battle about who the real Shiv Sena is.
See that when the election took place, it was about the present speaker's election. and whatever happened in that period was brought on record by Mr. Jirwar, who was presiding the meeting, and this was brought to his notice by Sunil Prabhu, who is Chief Whip of Shiv Sena. So everything is on record. Now the battle is whether the member of Legislative Assembly has voted against the whip or not.
While the battle over who the real Shiv Sena is continued inside the House, that debate is likely to reach the Election Commission and the courts as well, especially with both sides issuing whips and a new speaker being elected ahead of the floor test on Monday. In Mumbai with camera person Praveen G. Rohit, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
Meanwhile, taking this forward, now they're seeking the sacking of 16 MLAs of the Shinde faction. The Shiv Sena leaders of the Uddhav Thackeray faction met with the newly elected Speaker Rahul Narvekar, demanding action against these 16 MLAs, putting the ball in his court. And staying with Maharashtra, the police have now released stills of now 7 accused in the Amravati murder, and an independent MLA, the independent MLA from Amravati, Navneet Rana, met with the kin of Umesh Kohli, the chemist who was stabbed to death while he was returning home at night on his scooter by 3 people in Amravati on the 21st of June. 3 people were physically involved in that murder. 7 arrests have been made. The Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis has said that this murder allegedly for defending the former BJP spokesperson Nupur Sharma's comments about Prophet Muhammad was very serious, and has hinted that any initial lapses in the investigation, that's an accusation made by the party's local leaders, will be looked into.
देखिए, अमरावती की घटना बहुत ही गंभीर है। जिस बर्बरता के साथ उनको मारा गया है, ये बहुत ही क्रूरतापूर्ण इस प्रकार का सारा व्यवहार है। अभी इसमें आरोपियों को पकड़ा गया है, जो मास्टरमाइंड है उन्हें भी पकड़ा गया है। एनआईए भी अब इसकी तफ्तीश कर रही है, इसके कोई बाहरी कनेक्शन है क्या, क्योंकि ऐसा ध्यान में आ रहा है कि देश के अंदर एक तनाव पैदा हो, इसलिए कुछ विदेशी ताकतें भी प्रयास कर रही है।
And welcome back. Sunday was the 4th day of a massive search and rescue operation amidst inclement weather in rough terrain to look for survivors or dead bodies of men who have become victims of a massive landslide in Manipur's Noni district. And NDTV's Rantadeep Chaudhary spoke with the survivors and witnesses who have recounted the horror of this massive disaster, in which at least 27 people have been confirmed dead so far. 25 others are still missing.
35 years old Raman Fukan still can't believe that he's alive. Fukan is being treated for multiple injuries at the Regional Institute of Medical Sciences at Imphal, where a dozen people rescued from the landslide site at Tupul are being treated. Raman, a migrant construction labourer from Assam's Morigaon, worked for past 5 years with a private construction company engaged by railways to build the 111-kilometer long Jiribam-Imphal railway link, a mega project of Modi government. Raman was among the 80-odd men who were at the site of the incident on Wednesday night. It was a normal night until the earth moved.
मतलब हम लोग तो 12 बजे तक फिल्म देखा था, सो के बाद में नींद आ गया, सो गया, हिल रहा था, घर हाउस हिला है थोड़ा सा, बाद में पूरा मिट्टी ढक के आदमी को नीचे नदी तरफ लेके चला गया है। हम तो मिट्टी का अंदर में था, जैसे तैसे थोड़ा हाथ से हिला के उधर से सांस मिला है।
Raman had returned to Tupul work site 4 months ago from Assam. What unfolded around him was catastrophic. His friend who saved Raman's life died in front of him.
धीरे-धीरे पानी बढ़ गया है, आदमी लोग चिल्ला रहा था पूरा बचाओ, आदमी तो कोई नहीं उसमें बचाने के लिए। मेरा तो पूरा कमर टूट गया था, हिलाने नहीं सकता था। मेरा दोस्त का नाम था गोपाल फुकन है, वही बचा के वही डेड हो गया है। लास्ट में आदमी लोग का आवाज भी खत्म हो गया, पानी नदी का ब्लॉक हो गया, और जो स्लेट गिर गया था उसके बाद आदमी लोग भी धीरे धीरे पानी से आवाज नहीं आ रहा था.
Raman was finally rescued with a few others by the local villagers on Thursday morning. Around 25 people involved in the tragedy are from Assam. The government would airlift the dead and the injured back to the state. Assam's cabinet minister Piyush Hazarika is overseeing the treatment. 50 kilometers away, at the landslide site in Tupul, local village volunteers who were the first responders said landslides are common in the hills, but never they saw an entire hill slip.
And there is no such incident that happened, and this is the first time for me to have this big landslide ever. We, the local, has dug up a few people who is just on top.
Sources say army rescuers are not only looking for humans, dead or alive, but also for automatic weapons, arms and ammunition dumps. The Territorial Army Jawans had with them. With Saikhom Ratan in Tupul and BM Sanju in Imphal, Ratandeep Chaudhary for NDTV.
And finally, I want to leave you with a story that affects each and every one of us, something that we should all be aware of. The government has banned 19 single-use plastic products starting from the 1st of July. And the ban includes everyday products like spoons, plates, straws, etc. And while this is extremely important, we're also asking, is India prepared for this much needed momentous step?
These plastic products still being used in Delhi stand banned across India from the 1st of July. The government banned the manufacture, import, stocking, sale and use of 19 single-use plastic products, including everyday products such as plates, cups, glasses, cutlery, straws and thermocol. The government said it gave people enough time to prepare, but small vendors struggle to make the costly switch. They say that this ban will translate into more inflation for consumers.
ये चम्मच थे खाने पीने के लिए ये 25 पैसे कॉस्ट करता था. अभी लकड़ी का शुरू करा 1 रुपए का एक कर रहा है. आगे जो है ये आम जनता पे ही महंगाई का असर पड़ेगा. कोई भी दुकानदार, मैं हूँ या कोई भी हो, वो अपनी जेब से नहीं देता है. मुझे तो लगता है 10-15 दिन के अंदर ही बढ़ना चाहिए, क्योंकि कहाँ से देंगे हम लोग.
काफ़ी ज़्यादा इफेक्ट कर रहे हैं. प्लस हमारे जो रेट्स थे, जो खाने में जो रेट्स है, वो अभी तक वही रेट्स, अब चेंज नहीं कर सकते भी रेट्स.
Small vendors say the only alternatives they have come at high prices, which need subsidies from the government to ensure that the prices for consumers are kept in check. The government, on the other hand, stands firm on the claim that there are enough options available. The Delhi government organized an exhibition to showcase eco-friendly plastic alternatives. And against the obvious guess, paper is not the only available alternative. You now have cutlery made from a leaf and straws from bamboo sticks to choose from. But the affordability and accessibility of the cleaner options still remain a concern.
We need more facilities, more subsidies, more programs from government to train our workers so that we can manufacture in a more broader way.
But the problem is not plastic, it is single-use plastic. Recyclable plastic is still an option that sellers pitch as a short-term cost for a long-term investment to save the environment.
Paper or plastic cup, using it once and throwing it, so may cost 2 rupees, but you've thrown it. So this is for 4 or 5 years, so using it every day. So over a period of time, it is more sustainable.
Despite concerns, the move is a start to making India plastic-free. Each year, India generates plastic equal to the weight of 7 Burj Khalifas, that is the world's tallest building. 35 lakh tons of plastic is generated in India every year, and India is the 5th highest generator of plastic waste globally as per the government's data. Plastic makes up 8% of our solid waste, and 40% of India's plastic ends up in landfills as only 60% is recycled. A study even says that plastic is now found in our blood. Plastic is entering our body via air, water and food. The ban fights the plastic menace. but also shuts down an entire industry, putting lakhs of Indians out of jobs. Industry leaders say plastic as a product is not the problem, but it's the segregation and recycling which is the responsibility of the government.
इसमें 1 लाख डायरेक्टली और 5 लोग इनडायरेक्टली लोग इन्वॉल्व हैं और वो बेरोजगार हो जाएंगे।
एक प्लास्टिक इंडस्ट्री लगी हुई है जो सिंगल यूज प्लास्टिक बैन में आ गई है, उसके अपने लोन्स हैं, किस्तें हैं, उसके साथ 50 लोग जुड़े हुए हैं, वो बेचारा कहाँ जाएगा?
Industry leaders also point out that the solution, that is paper, is in fact even more harmful than the problem itself.
As per data, 88,000 units are going to shut down. Paper usage will increase multifold, which will again have a big environmental impact, from deforestation, like cutting of trees.
Phasing out plastic is essential for the protection of our environment. But the question is that whether the government made enough alternatives available to switch from plastic. Small vendors say their costs will shoot up after this ban, and these costs will be passed on to you and me, leading to a further rise in inflation. So a larger question is whether India was ready for this ban and whether enough preparation was done. With camera person Sanjay Kaushik, Priyanshi Sharma, NDTV.